Joining us this morning. Phil, thanks for giving us part of your Monday. Let's talk commodities. And, well, it's been a couple weeks of volatility for crude products, but as a result, as the dust settles, we have a pretty well-defined range. The July high up around 77 and last week's low around 65.
Yeah, we're still looking at targeting that range, but we do believe the bullish momentum is here. Look, OPEC, they had to increase production, and that's because, frankly, the demand is continuing to increase. We're still seeing, road traffic higher than pre-pandemic levels. We're continuing to see countries reopen. I think the Delta variant is really getting swept underneath the rug. It's here. It's going to affect people. It'll have small pockets where you'll see a slowdown in travel, slowdown in perhaps people going out, but however, we believe that, the path of least resistance is to the upside on crude oil.
You mentioned OPEC, path of least resistance to the upside, even with increased production here in the U.S. as well?
They're increasing the production because of the fact that the demand is here. The U.S. has also been quite lagging on shale production ever since the pandemic. So, they are naturally going to come back, but we believe that there'll be an equal balance with the demand.
Phil, higher crude oil prices to the point where it creates further concerns related to the inflationary pressures that many have been, have raised?
People complain about, gasoline prices at the pump for as long as people have been putting gas in their cars. So it's going to continue to, I don't think it'll have any kind of impact. You're not going to forego not traveling or putting gas in there. I think really, you get to Chicago when you get the $5 gas, that's when it really rattles cages.
Let's talk a little bit about how lawmakers are, speaking of rattling cages, there hasn't been too much at this point. They seem to be pretty subdued, negotiating still at this point, I'm hearing, in the upcoming, it's the holiday deadline. I think it's like August 6th or August 9th or something. They break for 6 weeks or 5 weeks or something, but or they have scheduled to, but are we expected to see any progress? I noticed copper is actually getting a little bit of a lift recently. Sometimes we see this tied to the infrastructure or expectations of progress thereof.
Yeah, sometimes copper can be a precursor. I'm not sure how lawmakers are going to be able to come to a compromise on passing any kind of deal. It just seems like it's been in stalemate for just so long. I'm not sure what's going to give on that. Copper futures, though, they were really, they come up to about 440 and then they would back off. And finally, we've got this breakout to the upside. There was an earthquake that may have impacted some Indonesian copper mine production. So that could be the reason for this small catalyst here this morning.
We're looking at it right here, Phil, back up above the 50-day moving average. We've seen kind of mixed housing data recently as well. So that's why I asked, also with some of the U.S.-China relations that have been, kind of painted out to be a little bit sketchy here this morning. Let's talk about what's going on with gold. Back up above 1,800 this morning. We certainly got a little bit of an inkling of that flight to quality type price activity to begin the week last week, where we saw the VIX treasuries for the most part spike, and gold seemed to be a recipient thereof. But for a long period of time now, or recently I should say, it's been parked and kind of finding comfort around the 1,800 level.
It definitely has. It's really anchored to it. Any kind of correction we've sought below it, we get down to 1780s, high 1770s. That's been a key level of support. A lot of buyers coming in there. We're seeing open interest continue to expand on gold. We believe that gold is going to be a great second half of the year product, whether we go into a stagflation or deflation. We already saw Goldman, they cut their GDP forecast. You've seen China in a big slowdown. Those mortgage applications, those have come down. So that's going to have a trickle effect on housing sales. So we think that allocating some portion of your portfolio to gold is quite a wise decision. Not going all in, but having some degree of safety net there.
Phil, how closely are you watching silver? We saw it come into pressure recently. I think it was back down to that $25 level, correct? Yeah, well, it's right there right now. Here you can see this blue line is actually the 50-day moving average. It's been down below it since the middle of June. Is this one of the products, one of the metals you guys keep a close eye on?
Oh, we love silver, but the way we're playing silver is there's kind of two ways. We either have call spreads going out in the 2022, they're in March, or we have guys that are more aggressive. They've been selling put options in a near month to buy a deferred month call option. So they are They do believe that, silver 24, 23, 22, all key levels of support, all major support technically on the charts going wide out. Silver's always been a wild card. It wears two hats, whether it's that safe haven gold, the poor man's gold, or is it an infrastructure type of metal? Is it going to track copper this week, or is it going to track gold this week? Who knows?
A bit of a wild card, but I can see what you're talking about in terms of selling some of those calls, those further outdated calls, and ultimately we've seen how it's found a pretty key support down around here in this $20, 20 to 25 area. So you can see the sideways consolidation here that's been occurring basically over the last year. Certainly comfort around 25, 26. So that recent weakness, I guess, just part of this bigger slice of the pie here. Let's talk a little bit about Bitcoin before we let you get out of here. Your thoughts on this recent rally? We found support around 30,000. It does seem to be just kind of noise at this point, also in a bit of a range, but that seemed to be one of those key levels that the bulls wanted to have hold.
Yeah, they definitely defended that 29,000 because that could have developed in a bigger head and shoulders pattern on the wider multi-year chart. Okay. With that break back above 34,000, we've got some acceleration going back upwards. It's going to grab headlines, grab some attention. You are going to have some people try and chase prices higher. There was a bit of chatter that Amazon might have some investments in Bitcoin. I think that's really what kind of started it. And that slowdown in China. You know, a lot of people that sell Chinese equities, they're all under fire and they're trying to get into some type of level of support, and digital currency makes sense.